Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Provenzano, Arts and Nightlife Editor for the Bay Area Reporter, and I want to welcome you to our 8th B.A.R. Talks. This is the bar and the bars, the relationship that the Bay Area Reporter has had with bars and nightlife culture in the Bay Area for 50 plus years. And with me, we have an illustrious quartet of individuals as well as a recorded segment to follow. We have Mark Abramson, prolific author of memoirs, and as well as fiction series, but his memoirs, specifically Sex, Drugs, and Disco, recount his life as a bartender and as an event producer, including Men Behind Bars, the historic bartender fundraiser at the Victoria Theater, mostly or only, Mark?
Victoria Theater, all but 1 year we went to the Palace of Fine Arts.
Okay. And Michael Flanagan is our most prolific BARchive columnist for the Bay Area Reporter, a concept that started in 2010 and is a popular favorite by multiple authors. But Michael is most prolific in finding obscure photos, obscure references for bars that no longer exist, as well as the relationship with ones that still do. Hey, Michael.
Hey. Glad to be here.
And John Ferranini is one of our assistant news editors, who's going to follow and cover some of the more recent changes going on in the bar culture, specifically, of course, bars closing, getting historic status, reopening amid the pandemic, and more. Hi, John.
Hello.
John's here. And Paige Hodel, the veteran DJ, who revealed that she's been around longer than I thought she was. You're up in the country and you have DJ'd so many events that I found some ads and old articles in the B.A.R. we'll share along with some other things. But since the 70s, you said?
I got to San Francisco in 1973.
Okay, so yeah, you have been around. You have seen a lot of things. Let me check to see if our chat is showing up on our Facebook page. And if it's not, then screw it. I'm pretty much sure it's going to work. We're going to go about an hour, and then we'll have a half-hour recorded session with the veteran singer, Tony-nominated performer Sharon McKnight, who I had a chat with Mark Abramson about the olden days with lots of photos. Sharon is actually performing tonight live in front of people, so good for her, but she really wanted to be a part of this. So at about an hour into this, we're going to go to a recording of Sharon talking with Mark and myself, plus a little special treat at the end as a little kind of encore, right, Mark?
Yeah.
So let's start with you, just because the screen is that way. When did you move to San Francisco, and when did you start going to gay bars and working in them?
I moved here in 75. I started going to gay bars in Minneapolis, but here, I mean, immediately. I didn't start working in bars until I moved up to the river in 81, and worked at the old Woods, the big one that had all the shows and the dance floor and all that. No longer there. And then I moved back to the city and worked, oh God, the Eagle, the End Up, the Special, the Tracks, all over the place.
We have a few screen caps from your excerpt, novel or memoir excerpts that I was happy to publish, as well as some other old bar photos that we'll show as we go through the chronological slideshow. Michael Flanagan, so you've done about 50 or more BARchive columns for the B.A.R.?
About that, yeah. I started back in 2011. You snagged me after I did a talk at the Beat Museum.
Ah, right.
So yeah, I was in back in the glossy bar tab.
Yeah, we'll show off some of those soon. Yeah, I had a good time with that very nightlife specific subsection that we had in the paper. So John, you started with the B.A.R. in 2019.
Yes.
But you have a little bar history as well.
Oh yes. Well, right before I worked at the Bay Area Reporter, I worked at Badlands as a bar back and at the door. So that was about, I'd worked there for 9 months by that time. So
did you come out late from Sacramento, or what was this?
I moved from Sacramento in 2018, so right before that.
Had you gone to bars in Sacto in the
Yeah,
state?
actually, my first gay bar was the Depot, which is in Sacramento. There's only like how many gay bars? There's only 4 gay bars in Sacramento,
Yeah.
and that's on the intersection where 3 of the 4 are. So, yeah.
It's kind of a mini mall of gay bars.
5 years before, or no, about 3 years before I moved, I think. Yeah.
Our dearly departed leather columnist Marcus Hernandez would faithfully attend all the leather events in Sacramento, particularly I think at the Bolt.
Yes, so the one bar that's not on that intersection is the Bolt, which is about a 10-minute drive north in a very, and of course, you know, the leather bar was in an industrial neighborhood where there were a lot of auto repair shops. And it was in a very nondescript building. You would never know it was anything just by driving by.
Right. You have to be in the know.
Yeah.
So
there, and they have a big sling in the main room and
how convenient
patio. Huh?
How convenient.
Yeah. The Bolt. Yeah.
So Paige, what was can you talk about your first queer bar experience and then your first job working in a nightlife event?
In San Francisco only, or my first gay bar that I ever walked into actually was in Paris, if you can believe it. I was in Paris when I was 16 studying music, but I came to San Francisco and I went to, I think the first club I went to was the Wild Side West on Broadway. At that time it was on Broadway. Pat Ramsire held court behind the bar. And the boys' bars that I went to right away, the Mine Shaft comes to mind. It was the City Disco. It was 1973. So we were in the heart of the disco era. It was fabulous.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Paige, can you either switch to headphones or turn the volume down a bit? We're getting a lot of echo from you.
So hold on. High tech over here.
Oh, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Paige shared a bunch of lovely photos that we're going to get to soon as well of your early, not completely off. Don't mute yourself, Paige. Can we hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'd like to start with the massive photo album that I put together first. And we can talk about it if you know what we're talking about, or like Michael has more knowledge of the earlier stuff. We'll go through quickly and just kind of stroll down memory lane, and then we'll get to more specific topics. But feel free to talk about different things, even though we're looking at this specific thing. Let me get my screen going properly here and share screen. This is always awkward. It's one thing that I think Zoom does better. I know it's like the magical mystery tour. Okay, can you all see that really well?
Yes.
Yes.
White background. So I'll just say what year this is. You can see it in the header, and if you want to comment or if you don't know anything about it, just enjoy it. This is the 181 show. This is one of the first feature articles about an event in a gay bar in the B.A.R. in the first year.
That looks like Pat Montclair.
Oh, in front on top?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 181 Club, they eventually found a body in the ceiling of.
That's
my
why you're
God.
here tonight, Michael.
Where was 181 what?
181 Eddie.
Eddie. Oh, I thought.
How
Did they ever
it get
find
in
the body in the fountain to end up by any chance?
I didn't save or booknote the murder mysterious body found because I'm gonna wait for that for our lurid noir-esque crime.
Oh, this is for
Yeah.
real?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
We gotta save that, John, for the crime panel because that's gonna be really headless body
Crimes indeed.
Woo, sweet lips.
topless bar.
Sweet Lips.
So it's still 1971. Here is one of Sweet Lips, aka Richard. Sorry, what Michael was the last name?
Walters.
Richard Walters' early columns full of all caps, because all caps show what is really needs to be paid attention to. I just love that. Yacht Club, Early Bird, Hot Pants.
One of my favorite stories about Sweet Lips was that one of the editors early on told me back when I was working in the 90s, said that they were worried that eventually Sweet Lips was going to come in with cocktail napkins with all of his articles written in lipstick on it.
Pretty much ended that way towards the last year. Yeah. It was notoriously ghost-written over the years. I just love this ad. Same issue. Don't know what happened to the Alley Cat, but I'd watch that cartoon.
Wow.
And here's a double page spread of 2 grand openings of bars that no longer exist: the Boot Camp and Folsom Trail.
Oh, the boot camp was a club long after it was a bar.
Okay.
It was a after hours place. Marcus hung out there.
Right.
I remember anytime I went there, I found Marcus.
On the Miracle Mile.
That's
The
right.
Cow Palace. I don't remember the Cow Palace.
No, it's called Folsom Trail. They're headed to the Cow Palace, I think, because it's
Folsom Trail.
It's a terrible ad. You can't tell what it is or what it's about. But, yeah, I know. This is why I love these handmade newspapers of yore. Here's another full page of Sweet Lips. Oh, there I see. Ron.
Sweet Lips was bartending at Ginger's 2 on 6th Street. I think was the last place I knew of him.
Yeah, he did. Occasionally, he did the Ginger's Trois as well, but Cockpit as well was his place of renown.
Yep, Cockpit.
Oh, okay. So this is one of the fundraiser events gone awry. Mr. Cowboy's chaotic contest where there was all kinds of things went wrong. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I read through it about half a year ago.
Ken Rector.
Now this is an interesting phenomenon where the local beer company was very gay friendly, and they sponsored a hunky Mr. Acme contest.
I remember that.
You remember it? And this was the winner. Obviously, he shows off more in the later issue, but I did not get it all in there.
Yeah, I remember the contest.
The mustache. Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, the porn stash is just. I saved the other photos of him shirtless. I'm sorry I didn't include them. So there's that.
We at one of my clubs, we all got so excited about the jockstrap and the underwear parties that we had a bra party one night.
Okay.
That's the most I could get the girls to do.
Let me. I'm sorry. I have to undo this for a second because it's not showing up on the. Back to chatting. It's not showing up on the Facebook version. I don't know why. Maybe that doesn't matter. I'm not seeing the. Okay. All right. I'm just going to deal with that. It usually works for the other stuff. So I'm back to that. Sorry. Okay. Jockstrap contest. That just kind of got me. There's all these things on the right bar was mentioned. This is the 10th anniversary. We're already up to 1980 or 81 with the Bay Area Reporter, and that's a nightclub shot that I never was able to quite recognize or specify, but it's just going through a decade. And Paige, you'll appreciate this. There's an ad for the I-Beam and a list of the talents, and kind of hard to read, but
The I-Beam.
Steve Fabus.
There, yeah.
What were
Steve Davis
dance
and Michael Garrett.
Michael Garrett.
Dear Michael Garrett. Boy, that boy could dance. He was so fabulous to watch when he was DJing. He sort of elevated. He was fantastic DJ.
Really? Is he gone?
Sadly, Michael is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Saw several performances at the I-Beam as well. I saw Fetus perform there.
Their Monday nights at the I-Beam were the amazing rock nights. Randy Schiller, I think, produced it with the I-Beam staff.
Oh, okay.
Dear Randy Schiller.
Sunday tea dances were amazing.
Oh yeah.
So
David
What were
Kelsey,
the,
David Kelsey.
Pure Trash. They performed at the Woods one time.
I included this because it's a live act that was in a bar, and it's the Polk District. Because as I looked through the 1980s, I did not see a lot of nightlife or bar coverage, but there were frequently ads. Like, look at this lovely complex ad of East Bay bars of the time.
Bench and Bar is there. I see in Revel, which was Nez Pa's bar. Nez Pa was a columnist that did East Bay bar coverage in the B.A.R.
Aha.
Yes.
So it's nice to see this as a map and a record, a geographic record of the diversity. And Michael, you did a column about this also that can be looked up. But
right.
South Bay and East Bay used to be very full of LGBT establishments.
Oh yeah,
And Sausalito as well.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't bar specific, but it for me it represents the kind of turn towards the end of Polk District being a gay district.
Yeah, that was there were two sweeps. I did an article on one of them the night that there were actually smoke bombs that went off on Halloween on Polk Street.
Right.
And that was in the late 70s as well.
Oh yeah. Can show that. Now this is interesting, Mark. Maybe you recall these days. It was.
What was the date on this?
It's 1982, April 1982. There was a poison formaldehyde leak from a railroad tank car.
I was there, but I don't remember the formaldehyde.
oh, I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember this. Yeah, you weren't supposed to go put your toe in the water.
Oh, because it would like burn or something.
Well, there was just, and of course everybody was down at Waller Bridge on the weekends, and then the Rusty Nail afterwards. But we were not having it. I don't know that anybody really got hurt.
I was at the Woods then, and it says the Woods and Russian River Lodge have a different water supply, so they were never affected. That makes sense.
Oh, okay. Because this party is at the Woods.
Oh, I produced that party.
Oh, I'm so glad.
The Woods. Yeah.
One of my favorite nights DJing at the Woods, I was spinning up in the rafters up there, and I put on one of my favorite Aretha Franklin tunes, which was "Who's Zooming Who?"
Yeah.
And the guy who was doing lights next to me, I was like jumping up and down and singing and screaming and saying, "I love this record." And he looked at me and he goes, "I wrote that."
Oh wow!
And I looked at him and I said, "No, you didn't. What are you talking about?" And he goes, "I wrote that song." And I went, "You wrote a song for Aretha Franklin. What is your name?" And he said, Narada Michael Walden. And I was like, "You are doing lights for me?" And I didn't even know it. It was a really crazy feeling. Just like, wow.
Wow.
What year was that?
Oh, God. At least 25 years ago.
Yeah.
He did several albums back in the 70s and 80s. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing musician and producer. I mean, he produced everything.
Huh.
Fantastic musician.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm glad I randomly chose this photo just because of the photo. I thought it was kind of Mask of the Red Death, but they're having a good time and everyone's safe. And Mark, you produced that event. So
I recognize John Ponce in the picture with his shirt off, right behind the guy in the center on the dance floor.
Right.
Wow.
There's that stage. There's John Ponce. I think he won the drummer contest that year.
This guy in the center?
No, right behind him.
Yeah.
Dark. No.
Yeah.
To left, up, left. No. To the right. No. Right. One more. That one right there. He just moved to Hawaii. And bought a place on the Big Island. I can follow him on Facebook.
Well, that's great. Some of these subjects are still with us. I like this because it's historic. It's 1982. We've moved into the Valencia area for
Valencia Rose,
Esta Noche, and the Roxy. Here's a close-up of the Valencia Rose, where, of course, Ron Lanz's venue, which was the precursor to Josie's Juice Joint elsewhere.
There was also Amelia's was the very big girls' party there on Valencia, and what was it? Artemis Cafe was a little coffee house that was sort
of course,
the epicenter down there.
And Valencia Tool and Die, one of the punk clubs as well.
Oh, well, I rented that building after a friend of mine was a punk guitar player, Mary Kelly, in the Contractions. And I used to chase around after them, and I would throw parties in the buildings because they always had the really cool buildings. And I rented the Tool and Die for one of my biggest birthday parties, which was kind of the launch of my career.
Oh,
I love the Tool and Die.
wow.
I lived in that block for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Minimal Man lived in that block and jumped through a window while I was living there.
Oh,
That's
my God.
Goodness. Well, that was very historic. And also historic was Esta Noche. We'll get back to that.
Oh, yeah.
This is from 82 when it was painted black. Yet it was very festive inside. A photo by the ubiquitous Rink.
Hmm.
That was our backstage when we were at the Victoria Theater all the years we did Men Behind Bars. Everybody was running over to Esta Noche between shows, between, you know, if they were in the second act, they spent the first act at Esta Noche.
Because you couldn't fit that many people backstage, right?
Well, no, it's tiny back there. And there was like a trap door basically to go downstairs to the 4 tiny dressing rooms. And we had one year, I think the cast was 128 people.
Whoa.
There was the alley in between the buildings that was all full of pigeons and pigeon shit.
Not good for the drag.
Or Esta Noche.
Now, don't tell us you also produced this.
Say, third from left, won the Northern California. I was just talking about him.
Right.
Yes. I lined up those guys out at the pool.
I know how to pick them. Well, this is obviously, it's one of Marcus Hernandez's columns from 1982, from April, and it's of the woods.
Guy Healy, yeah.
That's great.
Guy Healy. Oh, what a sweetheart.
So this is kind of a regular pre-AIDS event with guys of all sizes and shapes just showing it off in beauty. Very nice. Yeah. Now, along comes the Gay Olympics, aka renamed by force of a lawsuit, the Gay Games, and because Kezar Stadium's location, the hate bars decided to put together a group ad, or the advertising person did. I like this.
Nice.
The tracks, barbershop, the I-beam. Anyway, this is all some of the gay game supportive advertisers. And here's
I wanted to ask a question. Speaking of the I-beam, the ad from the I-beam earlier said that they don't have club membership fees. And was that a common thing, like to charge a membership fee to go to a nightclub?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't remember that.
I remember
Trocadero had membership ID cards with your picture on them. Yeah, that was one.
Oh, okay.
Sex clubs, some did. The Jaguar bookstore, I've still got my ID.
I still have my Liberty Baths card.
Yeah, but I don't think it was unusual for them not to.
Oh, okay.
I remember VIP cards being handed out by like Universe and the Greg Taylor crowd in the 90s that I could just jump the line, basically. Whereas in New York, I would just, because I was famous, I could. But in San Francisco, you needed identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had gold cards at the box.
Diamond.
Right.
And that's the finale of Men Behind Bars, the very first one. It was 1984, and she's singing "Ain't There Anyone Here for Love" with the Follies Men, who were mostly bartenders.
That's why I wanted to include this. I thought it was just too fabulous.
Oh, Val, yeah, and I'm sure that was a Robert photographer.
Robert Pruzan.
Pruzan.
Yes, it is a Pruzan. You are correct.
I remember all of the every year there would be the bartenders bash at the Trocadero, and everybody looked so forward to that. It was on a Monday night because it's the only night that everybody wasn't working, and boy, that was debaucherous.
Yeah.
I'll look for that for the next chat.
We threw some of those at the Woods too on Monday night.
So bumping ahead to 1999, this is when Beer Bus started getting in trouble for some reason. They started wanting to regulate, and that's where for a while it was problematic and it was raised a threat for nonprofits like the AIDS Emergency Fund. And the late Rick Salinas, the father of Mike Salinas, the late news editor, said, "We are highly dependent on these events and receive considerable donations from thousands of dollars." But someone, I forget the city, just decided, charging people for a beer bus, and there was ABC, the alcohol beverage
control, yeah,
ruining everything as usual.
Yeah, for
Well, I
decades.
know when they serve liquor in pitchers, I know that the ABC gets riled up because
Yeah,
you can't control who's drinking from the pitcher, whereas the bartender is supposed to hand the drink to somebody so that they can assess whether they've had too much to drink.
right. Yes, that's the reason, and it makes sense the way you said it, Paige. But when I was pouring it in a singlet for the wrestling team at the Eagle, I was selling a lot more, making a lot more money by walking around than waiting for them to line up. Because
Totally. I mean, I worked at Lime. I don't know if you guys remember Lime, the restaurant on Market Street. And when they first started, they were doing pitchers of beer by the pitcher, and I think you could, for $8, you could just drink bottomless beer pitchers, and it was just so debaucherous. And any given day, when I'd leave my DJ shift, there would be 5 bachelorettes from bachelorettes parties, all dressed in their pretty outfits and their high heels, throwing up in the curb. It was not pretty.
hold it back. Oh dear. So moving ahead to 2000, to the new millennium, Sweet Lips columns became shorter and shorter, the size of a napkin. Yes, Michael.
Bob Golovich.
He was pretty much ghostwritten at this point in his later years, but he was the longest running columnist in the paper since 1971. And here's an early appearance page of you in 2004.
Oh yeah.
Marking 3 years of respect, but of course you'd already been performing for years. So
I'm just hitting 40 years as a DJ.
Wow. That's amazing. Very close. At this time, it was 25 years, and blah, blah, blah. The phrase, your hearing has improved?
I still have tinnitus, but I've learned to avoid it and not think.
Yeah. Too many Aerosmith concerts for me as a teenager.
Yeah, I didn't get any sympathy remotely from anybody when I told them I had tinnitus. They were like, "So do I, because of you." I was the one with my hand on the volume control, so I got no sympathy. I always said it was kind of like Evel Knievel complaining that he had bad knees.
Right. Well, nobody forced them to dance that close to the speakers. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Right.
So this is Matthew Jaco's article about a Polk Street bar, the Rendezvous closing.
I remember the Rendezvous.
Yeah. Rendezvous.
It was upstairs, wasn't it? No, that's another one.
It had an upstairs, didn't it?
I believe it had a balcony.
Oh yeah, kind of overlook. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, one of the hustler bars. As Joe from Aunt Charlie said, when the bachelorette parties started, the hustlers took off.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the beginning of the end. The In Touch's demise would later take care of that as well. And here's one that did survive for a while. Mike Sure talking about the Gangway.
Oh yeah.
Tiny little Larkin Street bar. They had an early happy hour at 8 a.m.
The Gangway, actually, Burt Lancaster used to go in there.
Oh.
He had the hots for a couple of the bartenders there.
Hope it wasn't Sweet Lips. Anyway,
No.
I'm sharing this 4-page spread because it's fascinating to me that there's an article about the In Touch, the jump for the Gangway article, and on the right is the Badlands, John, celebrating its 5th year, along with the debut of Channing Tatum as a film actor.
He's Channing Tatum, and he's coming soon to the silver screen.
In Touch, by the way, was started by one of the B.A.R. publishers, Paul Bentley.
Oh, yes. Do tell.
Yeah, well, no, he had one bar before that, the Ramrod, and he had been at bars in L.A. in the 60s. And then in the 70s, he moved over to Polk Street and started the In Touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, was that the one down the street from Busby's? Nobody remembers Busby's.
Oh, I
Bojangles?
remember Busby's.
No, I
Oh,
used.
yeah.
I remember seeing the ad.
In Touch. I think Mavis bartended at the In Touch.
And this is another bar that started, that has since departed, the Bench and Bar from 2005. Mike Scher's in the bars column. And John, please step up to the bat. We're talking about what you can remember or tell us what you've read. You weren't around then in 2005.
No, it's a little before my time, but my understanding is, there was a group of people who alleged that they were discriminated against, and I think that what happened was the Human Rights Commission found that there was some cause there, and then the ABC, I'm not 100% sure. I think the ABC didn't come up with a conclusion, and then there was a loss. There was a settlement, and so that was the end of it. It wasn't the end of it in the public consciousness, but as far as legal situation is concerned.
Right.
After that, there was the whole issue with the pendulum. When us bought the pendulum and it became Toad Hall, maybe 4 years after this all went down.
Yeah, and there was picketing there too. Yeah.
And the irony of naming the former pendulum Toad Hall, as Mark would know, and anyone who was an extra in the Harvey Milk film, is that they used the 440 venue where Toad Hall used to be.
No, Toad Hall used to be
after the
part of
movie.
Walgreens,
Oh, sorry.
where Walgreens is now.
On the
And
corner.
when they made the movie, they used the front and entrance of 440 to pretend to be Toad Hall. And the movie came out, and it was such a big hit that Les Natali decided to call his new bar, the Pendulum, Toad Hall.
Oh.
And it always pissed me off because I would take the 33 bus all the time and hear people saying, "Oh, look, there's that bar that was in the movie Milk." No, it isn't.
God damn you kids. Get off my lawn. Well, so Badlands actually eventually closed anyway. We'll get to that when we. Now, here's a word we're not even supposed to use anymore, and I don't have a lot of the T-Shack shows. I'm saving that for the drag panel on January. But here's the the Stud Bar and T-Shack, Eklenish Tuesday night show, hitting its peak in 2005. Did everybody go? Anybody go?
Yes, definitely. I remember Syphilis Diller doing the Kiss a Kiss song, and they had a thing that they would hit the side of it, and another drag queen would pop out of the side of it as they were performing. Yeah. I Was Made for Loving You. That's what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, because the best ones always did a joke on the song. They didn't just lip sync. This is a whole new theatrical style of drag emerged, which is the satirical double entendre, multiple levels, parody of the whatever song they're doing, along with flung liquids usually.
And
the stud was
flawless
originally-
names.
the stud was
Also, our current empress,
Juanita.
Juanita Moore. There was a tribute night to Hair, and Juanita Moore walked out and performed with the biggest joint I think I've ever seen in the world on stage. Yes.
Quite large. I have photographic evidence. Yes, I know that. My favorite was Joe Wicht, aka Trauma Flintstone, just kneeling, his bald head, no wig, and performing to the Archie Sugar Sugar. He was coated in syrup, sugar, sprinkles, and then licked by a whole crew. It was very amazing. That was actually the second to the last week of the T-Shack shows. And then here in 2010, Mike Yamashita, our publisher, and or was it Tom Horn said we're going to do a Nightlife pullout, a little thing to compete with Gloss, and I said, okay, great, we'll call it Bar Tab, and they were like, wait, we have to think about this. No, you don't. We'll call it Bar Tab, and the logo will be a beer coaster, and it was designed by one of our lovely designers at the time, and this was actually a pre-existing photo at the SF Underground of Sip Cipriani. He didn't want to be included. I had to beg him and convince him because the paper had done a piece about his previous bar, My Place, which ended up getting closed because people were having sex there. So that's everything is drama with Nightlife. I'm just telling you. Also, you'll notice there's two guys macking right below the logo. We had to move the logo and blur it out because one guy was cheating on his boyfriend, and he heard about that's why those two faces right below the logo. There's my little cursor. If you can see it, they are blurred out because there was.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. This is everything. So anyway,
on a bit of a sad note, not sad, but serious, is that when we took photographs at the box, I took a photograph of pretty much everybody that came in the front door. Speaking of photographs, and oftentimes the bar would call me and ask me because we had photographs of everybody in the community, and oftentimes people needed photographs for the obituaries, and so we always had Chloe Atkins was our photographer. We had exceptional, beautiful black and white photos of everybody, basically, because everybody at one point or another stepped through the box. But then you'd see, you look at the photographs, and we used the photographs on the box flyers, and it was always sort of dramatic because somebody would break up with somebody and be with somebody new, but there'd be a picture maybe 6 months later. We would use the photo, and they would be like, "Oh, you have that photo. I've already broken up with him."
So we did not invent this. You obviously preceded us with this problematic endeavor. Yeah, don't use old Nightlife photos. You never know.
Oh, I mean, and we used photos for the box flyers for the entire time that we were open. And I'll never forget Vince from Zuni called me one time, or I called Vince, and I said, "Hey, Vince, I want to use a photograph of you on a box flyer. Are you okay with me doing that?" And he said, "Paige, I would rather have my face on a box flyer than win a James Beard Award." I was like, that is classic. Okay, that's fabulous.
Yeah, I treasure the old photos of when we were all young and pretty. I have some actually. I graze through in the photo album, but I have some from the end up before I even lived here when I was doing a travel piece for Outweek magazine. That it's just the old golden days, when we were all young and skinny. Anyway, so this is more the Bar Tab. I'm going to kind of indulge in my Bar Tab days.
Are you talking about pre-jowls?
Yes. Yes, thank you. So I did the first BARchive article in an early issue of the Bar Tab because I thought, let's kick off with an earliest, most known thing about gay bars. And of course, the most famous gay history fame that happened with gay bars was the toolbox being in Life magazine in 1961. Right. No, the toolbox opened in 1961, but this Life magazine spread was a few years.
64.
There it is, 1964.
Wow.
What they thought they were going to do was showcase how depraved and sad the community was. It ended up becoming a beacon for thousands, mostly of gay men into leather or learned how to be into leather, and women eventually as well, flocked to San Francisco with, and I like to think that fabulous, famous, infamous, now sadly destroyed mural by the artist
Chuck Arnett.
Chuck Arnett. Right.
Was like the reverse of the picture of Dorian Gray. Instead of repulsing age, it just attracted. The artwork is so amazing and simple and sexy at the same time. I really like to think of this as like some kind of magical spell that San Francisco and Chuck Arnett cast upon the San Francisco to make it what it eventually was at its peak. Anyway, that's enough editorializing. Here's Mango at El Rio.
Excellent.
Historic venue. Yes. Have you played there, Paige?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. there's not really a whole lot of turntables in San Francisco that I haven't at one point or another had my fingers on. But Mango actually still exists. I mean, it's a phenomenal, legendary, seminal nightclub or dance club and
Yeah.
celebration and diversity, beautiful, beautiful diversity, and musically really diverse, and just it's really something else.
And I think they're having their next one on Christmas Day, or they're also having a New Year's Eve party at El Rio. Mango.
Yeah.
I hope so. Our second issue of Bar Tab, started at the top. We used a Daniel Nicoletta photo at the stud, glorious black and white for our Pride issue. And the same issue, here's just Seth Hemmelgarn, our former assistant news editor, wrote about here's a go-go dancer at the 440. Do they have go-go dancers back at the 440, Mark? Or have you
not on a regular basis? No,
Darn.
not yet.
Okay, well, we'll look for that. And here's some, maybe you've met these gals, Christine De La Rosa and DJ Olga.
And Olga T, absolutely.
Oh, she was Olga Texador when I wrote the article. I didn't get the T right.
Oh yeah, no, she's exceptional DJ, still DJing. Under Olga T.
I got to hear her at one of the Pride Latin stages.
Yeah.
Very fun. And here's a cute one of our guys who made the look of Bar Tab was George Lester, who shot this. He had a very clear, clean, stylized look, and he could turn any moment into art. And we decided to shoot a little like bar food issue at Truck, Paul Miller's place, which is also among the sadly closed list. It's now still called Wild, or maybe it's closed altogether.
No, there's a bar there. I'm not sure if it's a gay bar anymore, though.
Yeah, no, probably if I would have heard of it. Anyway, this is a cute couple who decided to post. And this is another favorite, very complicated Halloween issue with Lisa Gedulgig, Margaret Gomez Adams, Jesus Christ, and that pun was the inspiration for this entire issue. I just said Margaret Gomez Adams and thought we need to do a Halloween issue.
Is that Nick Leonard?
It is Nick Leonard as Herman Munster,
Yeah.
and I forget the comic's name. Sorry, Ron V. Ron V is holding up my collectible True Blood beverage bottle.
Is that Lisa on the bottom?
It is Lisa Gedulgig as not Morticia Adams, as Mrs.
Who's the tall blonde drag queen?
Peaches Christ.
Jesus Christ. Okay, I thought so.
She came ready to go. She was done in advance, as you can tell. But anyway, I'm sorry I don't have a higher res version and multiple photos. Anyway, speaking of bars that are no longer with us, here's Marlena's and its notorious, famous Christmas decorations.
There's Michael
which made it to Twin Peaks one year,
right
after Marlena's closed.
Yeah.
And now it is Brass Tacks,
right,
which is a bro bar, an ex-gay bar.
Yep.
What is a bro bar?
I made that up, or somebody else did. Yeah, bro bar, definitely. It's so annoying. From the first day. Anyway, my neighborhood. So this is when I decided to go. We wanted to go through the gangway and tracks. There's an update on tracks, Mark, to just showcase the colorful, lovely enclaves known as the small bar or the dive bar, which I don't think not either is a dive bar. I just think they're really cute. And here's some old end-up photos. Now on the left is from a porn film or an early, Jim J. Bryan's flashbacks. The other two black and white photos are my own from 1990 at Club Uranus.
Randy Johnson.
Oh,
he was a columnist in the B.A.R.
Oh, I did not know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was a wonderful drag queen too. He was in some of our Men Behind Bars shows.
Oh, okay.
And he was a bartender. Where? Polk Street, I think.
Okay.
Randy Johnson.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people who don't know the Bay Area bar scene only know the end-up underwear contests with the little paper plates from of course, the televised dramatic adaptation of Tales of the City, Part 1.
I was bartending there for a year, and Al Hankin, I always mentioned there's a great story in my book, For My Brothers, about working at the end up. Oh my God, that.
And John Ferranini, take note. There is a dead body case associated with the end up. If
Yeah.
not two,
More of
So-
that one.
we'll come back to those in our special crime panel early next year. In the middle photo, of course, is Michael Blue, whose name I misspelled because there's no E, and Jerome Kasha, the famous artist who is not with us anymore at Club Uranus. This was on a trip here for the Lit Outright conference where I attended. Anyway, Women in Love on the cover of Bar Tab in 2011. Beatbox, another place that has come and gone. Annually, I did with my sports column, I knew that there was a close connection historically with sports and gay bars supporting them and sponsoring them. And the Lookout was no exception. These are some of their teammates who were gladly posed at Pups, the San Francisco Pups at the new Toad Hall, and some Pups at the Lookout, Tsunami polo players who always had a fun time with their fundraisers. And I think, anyway, that was a good time. Now here's Jack Fisher did some of the BARchive articles, and he did this one on the Beige Room in North Beach on Broadway.
Wow.
Which is from the 50s and early 60s, I think, is when the tenor of the Beige Room. And the story behind the Beige Room was at the same time that Pinocchio's was running there, the Beige Room was where the gay community actually went to see drag as opposed to Pinocchio's.
Which was more for straight tourists.
Yes.
Oh.
And this, like many historic photos, is courtesy J.D. Doyle and the Queer Music Heritage.us. We borrow from them. I commissioned this, and George Lester took these lovely photos of the two co-owners of the Stud on their 45th anniversary.
There was a time in the I think it was in the early 80s when a bunch of us girls got black Stud T-shirts. Like there was about 8 of us. We called ourselves the Studettes, and we would go in. And this was before the Stud, was there was women going there. We were really kind of out of place. And we would go into clubs there would be like 8 of us, and we'd go into the lesbian bars, and we'd stand in a row with our black Stud T-shirts and kind of act like we were badass. And then we would all start dancing, and we had so much fun. The Studettes.
The Studettes. I remember hearing about you guys. I didn't know you were one of them.
I was.
Well, the Stud, of course, was our neighbor at the Bay Area Reporter when we were on 9th Street. We were next to each other, and often Adriana Roberts, who designed the paper in the 90s into the 2000s, would also work on some of the T-Shack shows. So we would come into the office in the back production room on Wednesdays and see an alien spaceship or a giant tutus or other props from the T-Shack shows that were done the night before next door. It was also a kind of dressing room. Like you said, you had to go to Estanoche, Mark. The production room of the B.A.R. was basically the dressing room for drag queens for shows at the Stud, because there was very little. There was a backstage, but yeah. Anyway, sadly, in the same issue, we had an article about the Eagle closing for the first time, and Matt Baum wrote it. George Lester took pictures. Got some. It wasn't very full that day, but they had a chalkboard where people could write messages.
People forget that the Stud was originally on Folsom Street,
where Holy Cow is now.
Yeah,
right.
And that's where Etta James used to get up and sing, and
That's coming up.
I did a column on it.
Monday nights at the Stud for $1. I think I saw Etta James for $1 down there.
Wow.
But the building on 9th Street, which became the Stud, was originally the arena.
Oh.
And it was owned by the same guy who owned the Giraffe on Polk Street.
Oh.
And Terry Thompson was the manager, and they had some kind of falling out, and Terry moved over to the Eagle and became the manager of the Eagle for many, many years.
Oh, okay.
It was also Club 9 for a while. And it had the Art Motel there. And that's the place where Diamanda Galas first performed one of her parts of Plague Mass, Free Among the Dead, in 1985.
Wow.
Historic. And now it's a puppy hotel.
I did a funk night at Club 9 for a long time, and there was also another room in the back called the B-sides,
Yes.
which was actually kind of the hipper of the two rooms. You always wanted to be in the B-side. And the artist, Mark Rennie, was really brilliant. Mark Rennie started Club 9, and they took the motel behind, and they let artists take a hotel room and use it as their gallery, and it was really, really good.
Now, one of our writers, Mark Norby, he wrote a story about this the early years, but we still don't have any photographic evidence of this art hotel. I'm still trying to find those. So if any viewers out there here know that, then, as Greg Wright says, the good old days. I don't have any visuals of this famous art hotel, so it'd be great to see that sometime, so we could do a column. Michael could do a column about it, because several people have brought it up when we're talking about these various old days. Let me go back to the slideshow and try to zoom it and finish it up, and then we can continue. Now, don't ask why, but this is my most favorite BARchive cover. We did a wine store on Castro Street, and Vincent happily obliged to George to photograph him as an autumnal fawn. I'm a big fan of fawns. I made that, and the late Matthew Simmons designed and made the fur outfit for him, which he promptly.
Has Trevor Healy seen this?
I'll his crown. Just happened to be sitting here from my Halloween costume last month.
Yeah, I still have the cup and the plastic head dress, but Vincent had the fur chaps or whatever they are, and he laundered them and he ruined them, so he can't wear them anymore. They're unreadable. Another favorite is Lee Crow and her partner Ruby Vixen at Martuni's. We were originally going to shoot it its tops, but they forgot to let us in. And it was pouring down rain, so we walked down the street, and Skip at Martini's would gladly let us in. George set up the photos, and we were ready to go. It was amazing. We did it in less than half an hour.
So I have a story on Lee Crow from the End Up. One night they were there, and I was there, and Jerome Kaja collapsed on the bar in front of me, and Lee Crow with an accoutrement mounted him in front of me. And of course, being the way that it was those days, I looked around them and said, "Vodka tonic, please." Yes, the good old days.
When I first came to San Francisco, the Castro Street Fair, every balcony overlooking Castro Street, somebody was getting a blowjob all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was before, and even on the floats in the gay parade, they were so wild in the beginning, and then they of course had to clean everything up. But it was, man, San Francisco earned its debaucherous moniker.
Okay, I did not know that.
We worked hard for that.
It sounds very Mardi Gras, very New Orleans-esque. Yeah. Let me hop back to the screen. Oh, darn it. Oh.
My favorite in the old days, I remember there was a T-shirt that said, "We are the people your parents warned you against."
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was a great, that was San Francisco.
Here's another older story about the cabaret venue, and there's the actual ad. Can you all see the screen again? Can you see the slides?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It's so weird. It's still not showing up on Facebook. Anyway, so Pilsner Pride, we did a feature on the Pilsner, and this lovely bartender was one of our first year of the Besties. He won. There was also a proposed boycott of vodka that in September 2013, and this was one of the lovely guys who was in a Mr. Vodka contest. I forget. Anyway, we did a whole Russian angle. Michael writing about the cinch, not gone.
Yes. And I believe it was in that issue of the bar tab that you just showed the cover of. The cinch. And the amazing thing about the cinch, besides it just being a great bar, is that it also has both one of the Lions pub drawings on the wall there, as well as a painting of Gus's Pub, which was one of the 70s bars from Street as well.
Right.
Oh yeah, Gus's.
Yeah.
I was gonna do, we could do a whole slideshow of all the different variations of the bestiality themed Lions Pub ads, but I'm not gonna do that. Let's go over to you, Mark, and the Russian River, an excerpt from his memoir, River Days, River Nights.
No man ever steps in the same river twice. Oh, Michael, that's Michael Flanagan. I don't remember writing that. Michael's review. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This book came out, and then the pandemic hit, so I couldn't do a single event around it. But it's still selling pretty well.
That's good.
Really good stories in it.
And with that great picture of you on it in there too.
Oh, that's me on the, that was the day we took the roof off the pool at the house on Orchard Avenue. My friend Jonathan bought this house and it had an indoor pool. And he said, who needs an indoor pool at the Russian River? So the first thing we did was tear the roof up. And those were the beams over the roof that fell out into the water. And somebody said, Mark, climb out there. This is a perfect shot. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. So I climbed out there and they snapped the picture.
Worth it.
Yes, definitely.
Worth every splinter up the butt. Here's the jump page.
Oh, there's me on the far right with Mary Clayton. God.
And Billy Preston.
Sweetheart. And Billy Preston, yes. He didn't know it was a gay bar.
And he was there with his boyfriend, with his lover.
We were doing sound check and he was looking around and he was like, oh my God, all these guys. And he said, well, yeah, did you know this is a gay bar? And he's like, oh no, I'm gay.
Billy Preston is gay?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his lover he was with. And Mary Clayton, oh God. She was the one who sang those high notes with the
with the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Give Me Shelter.
Give Me Shelter.
Ah.
She was such a sweetheart.
I got to work with Mary Clayton when I was a production assistant for a music video for the soundtrack of Dirty Dancing. That's my claim to fame with Mary Clayton.
Oh yeah, I forgot about.
She was adorable. She was so sweet.
So sweet.
Didn't she marry Leon Russell?
Oh no, that I don't know.
I think
she
so.
did.
And here's Sylvester at the Woods.
Yeah, he performed at the Woods at least twice a year. That's Ed Stark in the back on the far right. He owned the Special on Castro Street.
Okay. I hope that was dry ice and not fog.
Oh, who knows? Back then it was probably cigarette smoke.
Michael, here's your article about we are returning to Esta Noche to say goodbye after 34 years.
Yeah, that was very sad. And there were a lot of people who were not very happy about it closing there as well.
And becoming another bro bar.
Yes. With
Well,
high-priced cocktails.
It has not been easy letting go of our San Francisco that we loved, man. That's been really, really excruciating.
No, yeah. One of the things I sadly joke about is that BARchive has become as much celebrating nightlife as it is writing its obituaries.
Well, the pandemic will end, and then there'll be a whole rebirth.
One can hope. Speaking of rebirth, there's the lovely Brian Mayer, who is our best DJ of the year in our best bar of the year, the 440, with probably sipping the best beer. I don't know. It was a great year. Right? Very happy to pose for us. I still have that crown, and hope I win his admiration. But this was like ripped off the stands. We still have a few collectible items with Brian shirtless on the bar. And I love this one I took at the DNA Lounge of T-Shack, where this artist did Suspension, but that whole S&M Suspension act. And I caught that moment. So that's my photo on the bottom and George Lester above and some kinky stuff. And here's some other. When we started doing the besties, it really took on a nightlife focus because there was just so many more categories, but also we wanted to celebrate it and let people enjoy it. Now, this is one of my favorite Michael Flanagan BARchives because Max, aka Ultra, designed it to get a real Barbara Kruger meets confidential magazine quality.
Right. And this is from the benefit in 1965 that the police had initially said that they were going to allow them to have drag at it, and then they pulled up the paddy wagons out front and brought Klieg lights and busted everybody, and it backfired on them because it was for the
Sir.
yeah I forget what the acronym was, but it's Council for Religion and the Homosexual.
Yes.
And it was actually a bunch of ministers, and they took the police to court and won, and it was pretty much the end of the cops busting bars in San Francisco in 1965. So
yeah.
When I arrived here, I think in the early 70s, there was a bar in the Mission called Kelly's Saloon, which was a girls' club there. And there was just a jukebox. And this was the my early experience with gay bars, is that you were not, if you didn't have a cabaret license, you couldn't dance. And so what we would do is we'd have somebody standing at the front door, and the cops would come in to do raids all the time. And so we would flash the light. We'd all be dancing to the jukebox and dancing, and they'd flash the lights. It meant the cops were coming in, and we'd all stop dancing and stand around like we were just shooting the shit. But it was like that's what dancing in San Francisco as a gay woman was like in the early 70s.
Wow, that's amazing that continued and went on even that late. Because y'all think it's like mythos, like the Black Cat and pre-Stonewall, but it really.
I got here in '75. I remember a bar off Polk Street where the Mirror Bowl would stop and the lights would come up like the cleaning lights.
Right.
The cops were coming up the stairs. It was upstairs.
Oh.
So you had a few minutes, and everybody would stand back and pretend you were coming from church.
Wow. Well, speaking of church, this was our church. Back to the man behind bars.
Val Diamond. God, she was a trooper.
That was a very, very lovely thing to share those memories from Men Behind Bars.
Is she still with us?
Oh yeah, Beach Blanket Babylon closed, a
right.
couple of years ago, and she was departed from them. Oh, there is me and Jim under the sign.
Sorry, I was going to zoom in and get a different screen cap of that. Also, Ed Stark as Edwina Ballerina, a classic.
Yes. God, he was best boss I ever had.
Yeah, that was in For My Brothers. I think you talked about how after he died, his relatives came in and sold the bar.
His lover, Richard, who was a dear friend, and he a bartender there for many years. Richard, of course, inherited everything when Ed died, and Richard was already was very sick with AIDS by that time. And so Richard died, and then he had two straight brothers from back east who'd never even been to San Francisco, who inherited this beautiful house in Noe Valley and this bar on Castro Street, and they didn't have, I had nothing against them. They didn't know what to do with it. They were certainly not eager to come out and move to here and run a bar, so they put it on the market.
Yeah, but we lost so much gay history that way, by people, people dying and their relatives coming in and not knowing anything about what was going on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 1,000 stories like that.
Yeah.
During the 80s.
Go back to one that's still alive, and there's Mark.
Oh my God.
Tracks.
I don't remember this article.
Yes, 2004, and I think March. No, it says May 1st, 2014. Love the soul patch or the goatee.
Oh my.
And here's your beloved friends.
Oh, there's Al Parker and Rita
Rocket.
Yeah. Gail Wilson and Pat Montclair. I might have taken that picture. I was standing right there when Pat Montclair walked up to the stage, and Gail was doing her Connie Francis medley. Oh, Rita and me and Al Parker cutting our birthday cake, and there's my lover Kelly and me. Oh, geez, I was completely clean shaven. Why? Oh, because I did the Mrs. Slocum lookalike contest.
Oh,
yes. I mean, yeah, at the local. I forgot all about that. I adored Molly Sugden and Are You Being Served?
right.
So when she came to town, people said, "Oh, you've got to go down. You've got to go meet her." And I said, "Well, what, you know." And so Kelly, my lover, was a makeup artist, and he said, "Well, let's just do you up as Mrs. Slocum, and you can go down." So I went down there thinking there would be a million drag queens, and I'm not a drag. I mean, I never did drag, but I was like, what the hell? I was the only one.
Wow.
And Molly Sugden adored it. She
Oh, that's
was
great.
so friendly. She was so sweet. I got a letter from her afterward. She was such a sweetheart.
That's sweet. Yeah, we love to see her talk about her, complain about her pussy. So closely after the opening of Mother at Oasis, Heklina's new drag show with hunky go-go boys, Michael smartly proposed, let's do a story about the original Oasis with the swimming pool.
Which I worked for 7 years.
Really? The old
yeah.
Oasis? Oh, tell us tales.
Well, it was a straight club. It was a top 40 straight club, and it was the most debaucherous place that I have ever been. And we used to party. I mean, I'm clean and sober 37 years now.
All right.
We put away some substances in our day, but I think most debaucherous moment of my life was completely intoxicated, leaping off the roof of the Oasis and jumping into the pool naked.
Wow.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, and everybody was drinking brandy sifters were floating in the water. And
Oh, no.
I mean, we closed those doors, took the pool cover off, and
What was the name
that
of the
place was wow.
It wasn't an Oasis then, was it? It was
Yeah.
called-
Yes.
The Oasis.
Oh,
It was
Yeah.
after, it was the Weekend something before. And then it became the Oasis. The four brothers or four guys bought it. And I worked there for most of the time they were open.
I saw Screaming Jay Hawkins there.
Oh, yeah.
Did he put a spell on you?
He did put a spell on me.
I thought it-
And he had, I believe it was Chester, was his cane with the skull on top of it that shattered.
Wow. So, Michael, in this article, the illustrations in the middle, now I can't reread it right now, but it was the leather neck for a time. It was a leather bar.
It was the Leatherneck. It was the
Leatherneck.
covered wagon for a while.
Yes, I remember those.
Yeah. And it was also a drummer key club for about a
That's
minute or so.
Wow.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah, I remember that now that you mention it.
Well, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you never missed the Edge of the Pool page, that you're still with us.
Oh, my God.
You want a Bestie as Best DJ like one or two times, but here's another Besties issue with the Oasis gals, Darcy and Heklina, bracing Andrew Slade, a popular go-go boy. You notice the crown. That's the same crown that Brian wore 2 years before. So here's Michael's lovely piece on Ginger's Trois and Sutter's Mill.
And Sutter's Mill, it's one of those things that, you wonder about bars closing. Sutter's Mill moved 5 times in its existence.
Yeah.
It was on Kearney Street. It was down on Battery Street. Yeah. So
We talk about that with Sharon McKnight in the tape segment that'll be up later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's hard to keep track of. It's like little scooty little hustler. It just keeps booing around to a different corner.
Right.
I
Right.
think it was at all of them.
Yeah, and here's some Sutter's Mill coverage that we had expanded. I miss having that many pages to play with. My goodness. And here's a North Beach feature that Michael wrote about the gay bars in the 50s and 60s.
That was really fun because I got to quote from Phyllis Diller's autobiography. She talked about how in the the Purple Onion that downstairs there was a gay bar for like a minute or so, you know. I mean,
I met Phyllis at the Cable Car Awards one year
Oh, that's cool.
in the elevator at the gift center. I was riding up with my cable car award that I just won, and she got on and she said, "Oh, you won one. Nice. Let me see that." I handed it to her and she went, "Congratulations." And then the door opened and I got off and she kept going.
That was it. That's great. That's great. Keep short and sweet.
Uh,
Bruce. That's great. This is just a generic hot go-go boy photo. Stephen Underhill, when we had a luxury of pages, we would have devote a whole page to nothing but nightlife photos. That has come and gone. Back to Michael with the original Breakfast Club and the story of the 181, the aforementioned 181 Club.
wow.
Vicky Marlane, who now has a street named after her on the left photo.
Pat Montclair. Pat Montclair and her showboys.
Oh boy. Wow. Beautiful. And there's the jump page with more information. I think maybe Michael disappeared or fell off. Michael, you still there? Michael, you still there? Yeah. Oh, we lost Michael. Anyway, so I'm going to move ahead to more photos. Hold on, give me a second. He'll come back on sometime.
He'll probably come back.
Yeah, I just got clicked off. So, Paige, I'm going to go to your album, actually. I'm going to put this down. And if we can preview your album instead, because these are pretty amazing. Let me see, quick look. Can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, great. So this is an early ad that I found in the paper just today. Spinning Grooves at the bar.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. That was so much fun. That was one of my favorite nights. Just Monday night funk night. Totally local. Just walls dripping sweat. Really.
Here's some photos from your website. Go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
456 Castro Street.
Yep.
What? Where is that?
I think it's now called the Q-Bar or something.
Oh, yes, of course. That was where Castro Station was for years.
Right. So here's Paige with her slightly large collection of records. What year is this? Do you know?
Oh my God. It's probably 92, maybe.
Okay. And
that was a loft in South of Market. I had a really nice loft with a wonderful studio.
Yeah.
I renovated. I rented it for $800. This totally tacky and completely tricked it out. Moved in. Had a great studio. That was really fun.
Korean Marshall in the box. Yeah.
Now there's my Roxanne. Roxanne was my school bus that I renovated into a beautiful redwood home, and I decided I didn't want to be on the back of a convertible waving, so I decided to bring my Roxanne into the and it completely broke down about 3/4 of the way through the parade. We had like 50 drag queens pushing her to get Priscilla of the Desert off the parade route.
Oh, that's great. I love it. Very funny in hindsight. Yes.
Totally.
Just a few more records.
Yeah, I was a little obsessed.
Paige, I don't think I've ever met you in person before, but you're so notorious. This is so much fun.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've been around, huh?
Yeah, we have. Oh, God.
So what happened to all these records?
You know, it got to a point, that was sort of the peak right there. It got to a point where I realized that, well, first I thought they were going to be my nest egg, that I was going to buy a farm somewhere, which never happened because at the time that I sold most, I have about 15,000 left. That's about 50,000.
Wow.
But I realized that it's kind of like expensive wallpaper because the truth is, it's eccentric wallpaper, we'll call it, because there's so many, like, for example, you keep that many records because you want to, well, back in the day when you actually couldn't use your index finger to find one of 22,000 songs in 1 minute. But you used to have to dig through the M's to find the Madonna La Isla Bonita.
Right.
And it took me like 7 hours to get through the M's. And I finally went, I'm just going to go buy it. So it became obsolete. Like if you have too many of something, you can't even use it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is so updated.
That was a spectacular night. It was at the World Dance Stage at the Castro Street. No, it was Pink Saturday. I think that might be the largest crowd I've ever DJ'd to. You can see it goes like 4 blocks.
Oh my God. All the
And
way
that
past
was-
the theater.
Yeah, and that was the night that Michael Jackson passed away. He had died about 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah.
And I did a Michael Jackson tribute. And I just basically kind of said, even though, it has now been revealed that Michael was questionable in his behavior. But at the time, as a DJ, that grew up in that era, he was, he's part of my spine.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, we did a whole tribute to Michael Jackson and the whole place. It was almost ecstatic because there was so much love for his music. And we all just...
He died the same day as Farrah Fawcett.
Oh, God.
Totally upstaged her.
And it was my birthday.
Oh,
and,
wow.
And that picture was right outside my apartment where I am right now.
Oh, wow.
So where's this page? This looks large.
I think that's one of the gay pride dance tents before they had 57 different dance stages.
Right.
There was one big tent where everybody danced together, which, if I may say, I so miss those days when we were all together. I totally understand that there's enough, people that want to hear certain types of music and certain, but I really do miss, and that was what I loved so much about the box is that, we were all together. Yeah.
I miss having to puzzle together print photos like this to make a panorama shot.
Exactly.
Did you see Michael just messaged us?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wants back in. You want back in, do you? Okay. Where'd he go? Where is he?
He said battery problem.
Oh, okay. Well, he's out. Let me just rush through. Let's get up to John's material. I want to show off a few more lovely photos. Add to stream. Sorry, this is going to be hideous for a minute. Let me get the album open. Bars. Whoop, whoop. Where did we leave off? We left off. Sorry, this is the one option that they don't provide for very well with StreamYard or with. So we have Brian, lovely bar tabs. We did all this. Let's catch up. We did this. So, here we go. Oh, speaking of editing, speaking of the stud, that's from again the history piece here with Besties. But I just thought I'd throw that in. Oh, here we go. There's Etta.
There, yeah.
Wow. God, I was so there that night.
And look at the guy doing poppers right in front of her.
No, he was just blowing his nose.
Oh, maybe it's a harmonica.
Yeah. He's kind of on stage, so yeah, let's be nice. But no, he is. That is cute. So Michael, in his behalf, he wrote a lovely article about the old stud and how Folsom Street was full of live music, including punk, which was our favorite in those days. But I just had to share that. And here's some other performers. And then here's his article about the Fickle Fox founder, Don Cavello, combined with the Hole in the Wall, which is still open, hooray, celebrating its 25th anniversary. Don Cavello was a singer in musicals, and as visualized here, and also the bar was very popular in its day. Now, John, let's get on.
Flanagan says, "Let me in."
Let me in. Okay, hold on. Let's get that going here. With I don't see him. I don't see his screen.
He just said, "I'm here. I'm back. Let me."
Maybe
in.
if you scroll down.
Oh, thank you, John. Yeah, he's below this. There's two of them. Hi, Michael. Welcome back.
Hi. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I spoke on your behalf about the fickle finger. John, can you talk about, we're up to 2020.
Oh, Well, let me tell you, I inadvertently started the lockdown of the Castro bars
Tell us.
when this all started, because it was on that Friday, let's see, March 13. And after work at Bay Area Reporter, I went over to Bo. And I had just gotten a news release from the mayor's office. It came up on my phone that capacity was limited to 100 people at public places. And I thought, oh, well, this should be interesting. So I went over like I normally would, and I said to the bartender, hey, did you hear about how capacity is limited to 100 people? And he was like, no, I hadn't heard that. And then, evening continues. And then he says, hey, where did you see that? Can you send that to me in an email? And I was like, sure. So then about 5 minutes later, the music abruptly stops and he says, okay, everyone needs to finish your drink and leave. And I was like, oh, well, and that was the first bar that kind of announced that they were closing. And then, I went to another bar after that. And that's when I figured out, oh, now everyone's starting to close.
Yes.
And at first it was kind of a limited, they actually, like, I remember Badlands, I think, actually had a sign that outside that said capacity 100.
Wow.
So first it was like, we're going to limit it to 100. And then, of course, the next 2 or 3 days later, they closed for good.
And then soon after, by May, the stud closed, but there were also other circumstances with the collective not being able to raise enough money, was it? Or
they said that COVID-19 was the cause, and that's what they said.
okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Badlands closed permanently, referencing the racist allegations, door policy allegations before. Maybe some people are relieved. However, it is a venue in the Castro that we need to support businesses.
Well, what happened there, again, Les did not answer my phone call for a request for comment for this story. But this was about a month or two after there were protests after George Floyd's death.
Right.
Some people probably learned for the first time about what had happened or what had allegedly happened in 2005. And so, that kind of got resurrected, and there was a lot of talk, and it was at that time that Badlands announced that it was closing suddenly.
Wow. And
but
people
all is still, open.
Yeah, but venues all over town were boarding up their windows.
Yeah, and they had already boarded up, and they had already done that mural thing
Right.
that a lot of the bars did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating. Well, this is just graffiti, not a mural, but the mix.
Oh, yes. Well, what happened was Larry Metzger, one of the owners of the mix, filed a suit because it's a partnership of several people. And then his other partners sued him. And so both of these are going on right now. Although I believe that they're in the litigation, like, discovery phase, and they haven't gone to trial yet.
Wow. Okay. So some clubs are opening, but the photo is kind of deceptive because.
And some news today, I just heard today that the cafe painted over the milk mural.
I saw that.
Oh.
I saw that. I was there the day they
because
painted that mural. I couldn't believe it.
Oh.
they said that they need to repair that. This is what they said, that they needed to repair that wall, and that they basically couldn't do that and preserve the mural at the same time.
Bullshit.
Wow. Well, some good news. The Eagle has landmark status, so it's not going to be torn down, at least for the next few years.
Good.
This is from September.
And it's still for sale.
Still for sale. That's very strange. So Stephen Underhill's usual albums now are, of course, al dente, or al fresco, as they say, outdoors. There's Harvey's after reopening with careful masks indoors, and this isn't during the flux where people didn't know what to do or they were mid-vaccine, so they just put everybody outside. And so did Bo. They had outdoor brunches because we can't live a week without our drag queens, so they were doing outdoor drag shows. And then in our final photo, the Castro welcomes the holidays. Mayor Breed, Santa Claus, Scott Wiener, the whole cast is assembled to hopefully bring some holiday cheer. And I'm going to finish off close off the, oh my God, sorry. This is just, there's like 1,000 sub screens going on. Well, that's the slideshow. So what do you guys think is going to happen now that we've kind of established a protocol for how to attend nightlife, how to go to a bar? Do y'all feel comfortable going out? Have you been? What do you think the future holds?
I am not ready yet myself. I am not, I've, been turning down work. Clubs are starting to go again, but I'm 65, so I want to be careful and I want to be around for many more years. So I'm just not quite, I don't go into restaurants. I don't go inside clubs, and let's just hope and pray that we get our hands around this, in the meantime, I'm cloistered up in the country and building tiny houses, and
yay!
I'm ready to DJ, but I'm still, I want to wait. I want to wait until it's safer.
You're 65, you're chicken.
I've been to Aunt Charlie's and the Cinch, so I'm going out.
I go by 440 most afternoons for a couple with Gordy and my friends, and we sit outside in the parklet. It's lovely,
Right?
And when we go inside, we put a mask on.
Right. Yeah, I did that at a restaurant recently with 5 friends, and the staff wears masks, throughout their shifts, which must be very uncomfortable, but they do that and they're great. John, what are have you heard, or you writing on something or doing something about the new parklet regulations that are kind of confusing people?
I did do some stuff when they first announced back a few months ago that the parklets could be permanent, but I haven't done anything about these recent regulations that were announced.
They were basically accessibility for wheelchair access, and that was the main thing.
I mean, I heard that there were 60 different regulations on the parklets. And, I noticed that some of the businesses, like, for example, the taqueria on Collingwood, El Capitan Taqueria, they took down theirs, and I've noticed a lot of people taking them down now that, indoor stuff has resumed.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because this it seems like there's over qualifying it, but I have been in areas with a wheelchair using friend who could not get through without the electrical cord bumper. There's all these impedances, and it's not wide enough, and so I understand it, but at the same time, I can see how business owners are very confused.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah. Well, any other comments? I would love to switch over and show you the video that Mark and I recorded with Sharon McKnight. I want to thank John and Paige and Michael. You're welcome to hang out and watch, or you can watch it later.
Thank you.
We're going to go gleefully overtime because you guys are just full of stories and information, and it's been really fun. But now we're going to do the same thing with Sharon McKnight, who's performing as we're taping this. So we're going to switch over to video with me and Mark Abramson. And thank you, Paige and John and Michael. Hopefully
Thank you.
See you all soon.
Bye.
Thank you, Paige.
For the Bay Area Reporter, and this is our special segment within a chat with veteran bartender and author Mark Abramson and the incomparable Sharon McKnight, who has been performing in the Bay Area and around the world for decades. But our chat is specifically about the B.A.R.'s relationship with nightlife and bars, and I think you both have some tall tales to tell.
You're going to have to pay me a lot of money to tell the tall tales. I'm going to just give you the short tales.
So when was your first
involved in some of these,
Can you remember your first or earlier performances in a nightclub, like the Plush Room? We found an ad we'll show later. But what was your first gig in the Bay Area?
First gig, besides the acting thing, my first gig was at Chez Jacques Chez Jacques, which was on the corner of California and Hyde, owned by Jack Essex, who was a French teacher at City College. And he wanted to have a cabaret, so he opened up a cabaret. And they had 3 performers that would do the weekends: Dana, David, and Wesla Whitfield. And Wesla was shot and was in a wheelchair and could not perform. It was in the hospital. And so they needed a 3rd person to come in. And a friend of mine told me about the auditions when I was working at the Brothers, as a matter of fact. Vince, the general manager there, told me about the auditions, and I should go in and sing a song. I went, okay, I'll go and sing a song. Well, I got the job. And so I was working there, and they would feed us. I think it was $20, and they fed us, gave us a French meal, very tasteful. And we would do 2 shows, one at 9:30 and one at 11:30. People used to stay out late, remember the 11:30 shows. So that was kind of where it started. And then I got my own solo act there. And then it went from the solo act at Chez Jacques to Fanny's and Trinity Place. And I can't even remember. I have scrapbooks upstairs, hundreds of scrapbooks upstairs with all the ads and people's thank you notes. And, my mother was a Virgo. She saved everything. You know what I mean? So it rubbed off on me. Yeah.
Mark, do you remember the first time you saw Sharon perform in the Bay Area?
At the Woods, at the Russian River.
Yeah. There was another place I worked. I opened the Woods, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It was the first act there. Carl and Jean, and what was the
Al.
Al, but there was Jean, and Al. Yeah, Al was the other one, right? Yeah. Carl lives now in Palm Springs.
Right, I heard that.
Yeah.
And Mark, you worked at the Woods for several years or seasons?
I worked 3 seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, 81, 2, 3. And I moved back in 84.
And that's
where I
mentioned
first
in your most recent book?
No, it's from my most recent book, River Days, River Nights, is just about the river, my work at the river.
Right.
Oh,
I saw Sharon before I moved up there. I think I saw Sharon like at Sutter's Mill and Trinity.
Actually,
Trinity. Okay.
Sutter never had entertainment. They made the new Sutter, after they moved, had one. I was there one time.
Oh, right.
It just
Trinity.
it wasn't the crowd that wanted entertainment. I mean,
No, they were a softball sponsor, more of a sports bar, as I recall. No, I mean I wasn't there. From my homework, Sutter's Mill was more of a sportsy bar.
I'm sure I saw
okay.
you at
We'll
Fanny.
take your word for it, Jim.
No, it's when I did the sports exhibit. Sutter's Mill they were the earlier sponsors of the gay softball league and stuff like that. So Mark, you had a little story about one of your Men Behind Bars events.
Oh, well,
with Sharon.
that was in the book for my brothers. Sharon was in town I ran into you at Rock Hudson's memorial gathering
Lord.
at Jane. Well, it was Harvey Milk Plaza. It is Harvey Milk Plaza.
On the corner of Market and Castro.
Yes. And you said, "Oh, I heard all about your Men Behind Bars show. I'm in town to do it." And I said, "We open like tomorrow." And we've been rehearsing for months. And you said, "Well, I don't care. I'll do whatever you need." And I was just kind of flabbergasted. And I thought about it. And the next morning I called you and said, "Oh my God, you're in town. Well, we've got to do something. You've got to use you somehow." I said, "So you can tap dance, right?" And you said, "Oh, sure." And I said, "Okay, in a gorilla suit?" And you said, "Sure, whatever." So you did the finale, and then in the first act, we had you come out and introduce a country western dance group called Winchester, and you did about a 5-minute comedy shtick before you introduced them. You talked about you had just been up at the Russian River where it was raining so hard you couldn't flush the toilet. I mean, it was really
That's
funny.
true. That was true.
Very
Was that 82, 81?
It was 84 or 5.
84.
No,
Okay.
it was 86 because that was the first year that Gil was.
Flood. That was the flood, wasn't
Yeah.
that the year?
Flood. And the
And we-
Victoria Theater was flooding. I mean, there was drips. Certain seats we
Right.
had to block off because there were leaks from the ceiling. Yeah, you said you were going to come back and do a benefit for the new ceiling too.
That's too
Yeah.
funny. Well, I didn't have time to find a picture or a video, but Mark, possibly if you look up Men Behind Bars on YouTube, we might find that closing number. Did you say?
I think so. I think I put it on YouTube. When you come out and the girl is tap dancing, you take the head off and you're singing about it's anything goes from.
Oh my God's sake.
Beating Grace Jones by 2 decades with that outfit.
Very, very.
So Sharon, what was one of your favorite performances in the Bay Area? Was it that was classy, that worked really well? Was it Feinstein, the old Feinsteins, or the Plush Room, or a concert?
I think the Plush Room was probably my favorite room to play because the lights, the technical there was exquisite.
Mhm.
Because the guy who ran it had his shit together, you know. And they had real stage lights, Fresnel's, ellipsoidals, you know.
Right.
It was technically great, and they had a nice dressing room that was clean.
You didn't have to use a bathroom or a kitchen area, or
Well, yeah, you could get to the restrooms, but you know, it was just the stage technically was clean. The piano was good. You know, Russell Cox owned it. Russell Cox, my God, I haven't said that name in 100 years. Russell Cox, and then he later had the Plush Room in Atlanta. He got the York Hotel in Atlanta, which was right across the street from that famous cinema there in Atlanta. I can't remember where they redid it when I was there, and but just I've been around the block a few times here, boys.
yes, as have we all. Can you tell me some about your interactions? Did you have any interactions with Bob Ross over the years when he was alive? And
We go back so far. Bob Ross helped me quit smoking. We were sitting at some benefit dinner. We were at the same table. We were always pals. And I can remember him sitting and watching the Reno rodeo in Reno. We did the plaza at the hotel, and he was sitting in his chair up on the balcony watching all the gay men dancing around together and just kind of smiling. Great. We were sitting at some benefit for something or other. And I said, gee, I wish I didn't smoke. And he said, well, I quit smoking. I said, you did? How did you? And he said, well, I had acupuncture. I said, really? Acupuncture? Never had acupuncture. And he said, no, here, I'll tell you what I'll do. It was like my birthday or something. I know it had to be, you couldn't in like April. So he said, I'll pay for it. His name is Dr. Andy Wong, and he's on Church Street. And I'll pay for it as a gift to you for all that you've done. And it was like $30. So I went to Andy Wong. I made an appointment, went to Andy Wong. He stuck 2 needles in here and one near my knees, and I quit smoking.
wow.
So, yeah, Bob, I thank him for that. And matter of fact, I think probably later you'll have a picture of Bob and Louise Molinari. They were the grand marshals, and they were also the honorary chairs of the AIDS Emergency Fund after.
My screen and open up the photos, and we'll show. We can
One
down
for
memory
you.
lane.
Oh, gee.
Sorry. That's
Well,
Sorry, folks. We had a Mark. You still there? There's your cat. There's your neighbor's cat.
I'm here.
The video stalled. It just completely screwed up. So we're gonna have to come back to that. I will edit it later and upload it to our YouTube channel. And I'm getting bounced. I'm gonna mute myself. We're gonna abruptly cut to the ending, the epilogue. I'm gonna try to showcase the Men Behind Bars 3 with Sharon McKnight, the aforementioned gorilla suit. So let's see if this shows up. I'm going to share my screen. You know, I tried to go all high tech and move forward, and it didn't work. And that's a lesson learned. So, yeah, I'll upload the Sharon McKnight later. But let's watch some video because I want to see this. If the damn thing.
Jim, have you watched it to the end with Jose?
Yes, but I'm just going to show part of it.
And we thought that we wound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. But today, any shock they should try to stem instead of landing on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock would land on them.
Diane Feinstein.
Oh, it's supposed to be Di-Fi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We looked on as something shocking. Heaven knows anything goes. Good authors do who once knew better words now only use four-letter words writing prose. Anything goes.
She was known for her bow ties, so we gave her a bone tie.
Like white today, day's night today, and all the guys today, the women pride today are just silly gigolos. So I'm not.
This guy was a gorgeous bodybuilder. He was half naked in most of the shows, but he got to wear the gorilla suit for this scene, and then Sharon took it off.
I can't hear you, Mark.
Because they decide they gravel up tennis balls. Anything goes. When grandmama, whose age is 80 in nightclubs, is getting matey with gigolos. Anything goes. If driving fast cars you like, if those bars you like, if their lips you like, if old lips you like,
always, man.
or being dressed you like, no one will oppose. When every night the set that's smart is indulging in nudist parties in studios. Oh, anything goes.
So now there's like 50 more people come on stage.
Oh, it was a huge cast. There were well over 100 people that year.
And a live orchestra.
Oh, always, yeah. San Francisco tap troupe. The tall one, of course, is a drag.
Whoops.
Yeah, somebody's mic didn't.
Anything.
Oh, too much.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and at the very, very end, Jose, the widow Norton, comes down in a swing from the fly loft to sing San Francisco after all the other stuff. And he had been up there for like 20 minutes.
Oh, there was no way to, it was dead hung, so there was no way to hide it. Oh my God.
Every show, we did like 5 or 6 shows that year, and every show, all he did was we'd put him up on the swing, and he'd sit up there through the whole finale and then come down at the end. But during the times like between shows, he would sit out in the theater in the Victoria, be surrounded by all these gay people who would he would tell stories while he was knitting, you know.
Right.
And it was so fabulous. And he talked about how he said, well, the first night I was up there, I was right next to the mirror ball. And I kind of thought I shouldn't look at that because I might get dizzy. So I try not to, because there was a mirror ball in one of the acts, you know. He said, I try not to look at the mirror ball, and I thought I shouldn't look at that because I don't want to fall off, you know,
Right.
and crash on the stage, ruin everything. He said, well, then the second night, I thought, no, I got to remember not to look at the mirror ball. Well, they hiked me like 12 feet above the mirror ball, so I couldn't even see it. He said I was up there in the dark all that time.
Wow.
Oh.
Well, I've copied the link into the chat comments. If you want to watch the full show as well as Mark Abramson's other videos, you can enjoy those there. I hope that's showing up. Sorry about the snafu earlier. I've never done a half-hour video as a tag on, and that proves that you need to lower the resolution because it was like 800 megabytes. So thank you, StreamYard. I'll edit this together and re-upload it, corrected and edited on our YouTube channel very soon. But thanks for being with me, Mark, for this adventure, both chapters with Sharon and with the other folks. It's been great.
Thanks, Jim. It's been fun.
We'll see you in 3D at the 440 soon.
Oh, good. Hope
okay. So. And broadcast. Good night, all.